What if the hardest person you will ever have to find is not someone you lost, not a friend who walked away, not a love that didn't stay, but yourself? What if one day you wake up and something feels off, not around you, but within you? Everything looks normal. Your life is still moving. People still call your name. You still show up. But deep down, you feel like a stranger in your own life. What if you realize you've been living a life that looks right to everyone else, but feels completely wrong to you? You laugh, but it doesn't reach your soul. You smile, but it feels forced. You talk, but your voice doesn't even sound like yours anymore. And then it hits you. You've been performing, acting, surviving, but not living. What if the truth is you didn't lose yourself overnight? You lost yourself slowly, in the need to be accepted, in the fear of being rejected, in trying to be enough for people who never truly saw you. You became what they wanted. You said what they liked. You hid what they couldn't handle. And piece by piece, layer by layer, you disappeared, smiling for others, even when your heart was heavy, sacrificing your peace just to keep the peace, pretending you're okay, because explaining your pain felt like a burden, saying yes when everything inside you was screaming no, showing up for everyone while abandoning yourself. And the scariest part, you got used to it. You got used to putting yourself last, used to silencing your voice, used to ignoring your needs, used to being everything for everyone except yourself, until one day you pause and ask a question that shakes your entire existence. Where did I go? Because now you don't recognize your own thoughts. You don't trust your own decisions. You don't even know what truly makes you happy anymore. You feel lost, not in the world, but within yourself. This is not just a story. This is the silent reality of so many people, walking around every single day, functioning, but empty, present, but disconnected, alive, but not truly living. People who have mastered the art of hiding their pain behind strength, behind responsibility, behind "I'm fine." And maybe this is you. Maybe you've been strong for too long. Maybe you've been silent for too long. Maybe you've been everything for everyone, but nothing for yourself. And today, we are not ignoring it anymore. Today, we are not pretending anymore. Today, we begin a journey that is uncomfortable, honest, and deeply necessary. Today, we talk about finding me. Finding me is not a cute journey. It's not soft music and peaceful mornings. It's not a perfect glow-up. It's not a straight path where everything suddenly makes sense. No, it's messy. It's uncomfortable. It's deeply confronting. Because sometimes it doesn't feel like finding yourself. Sometimes it feels like breaking apart. It feels like everything you thought you were starting to fall away. The identity you built to survive. The version of you that learned to please. The mask you wore to be accepted. it all begins to crack. And that cracking, it's not gentle. It's loud in your mind and silent in your world. Because before you can find yourself, you have to face everything that made you lose yourself. Not the easy parts, not the comfortable memories, but the things you avoided, the pain you buried, because you were told to be strong, the trauma you ignored, because you didn't have the space to process it, the moments that broke you, that you never gave yourself permission to feel. You start remembering things you thought you had forgotten, words that hurt you, situations that changed you, people who shaped you in ways you never questioned before. And then you begin to see clearly. You see how you shrank yourself to make others comfortable. You see how you silenced your voice to avoid conflict. You see how you carried expectations that were never yours to carry. Expectations from family, from society, from people who decided who you should be before you even discovered who you are. And now, you're standing in the middle of it all, asking questions that don't have easy answers. Who am I? Without the pressure to prove anything. Who am I when I'm not trying to be accepted? Who am I when I stop performing and just be? Who am I without the pain that shaped me? Without the survival mode? Without the defense mechanisms? Without the fear? And the hardest one of all, who am I when nobody is watching? When there's no applause, no validation, no expectations, just me, alone with my thoughts. And sometimes the answer is silence. Sometimes you sit there and realize you don't know. You don't know what you truly like anymore. You don't know what you truly want. You don't know who you are beneath the roles you've been playing. And that realization, it's terrifying because it feels like standing in front of a mirror and not recognizing the person staring back at you. It feels like waking up in a life you built, but don't feel connected to. It feels like being present in your own body, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually, you feel lost. But here's the truth most people don't tell you. That moment of not knowing, that moment of emptiness, that moment of confusion, that's not the end. That's the beginning, because you cannot find your true self while holding on to a false one. You cannot discover who you are without first questioning who you've been. So, yes, it feels like breaking. But maybe you are not breaking apart. Maybe you are breaking free, free from expectations, free from pretending, free from the version of you that was built out of survival, not truth. And in that space, as uncomfortable as it is, you begin again, slowly, honestly, intentionally, not as who the world told you to be, but as who you are, finally ready to become. A lot of people are not lost. They are disconnected. Disconnected, not from the world, but from themselves. Disconnected from their own voice. That inner voice that once spoke clearly, but has now been silenced by fear, doubt, and constant noise. Disconnected from their worth, because somewhere along the line, They started measuring their value based on how much they could give, how much they could endure, how much they could sacrifice. They forgot that their worth was never supposed to be earned, disconnected from their identity, because they've spent so much time becoming who they were expected to be, that they never had the chance to discover who they truly are. So what happens? They adapt, they adjust, they shapeshift, they become the strong one, even when they are falling apart. They become the reliable one, even when they are exhausted. They become the happy one, even when they are silently hurting. They learn how to read the room, how to meet expectations, how to avoid disappointment. But in the process, they abandon themselves. And this is where it starts. Not loudly, not suddenly, but quietly, subtly. That constant overthinking. That's not just stress. That's a mind that has been disconnected from its own sense of safety. That anxiety you feel, it's not just fear of the future. It's what happens when you've been living a life that doesn't align with who you truly are. It's your inner self trying to get your attention. And that heaviness, that emptiness, that feeling of something is missing, even when everything seems fine. That's not nothing. That's disconnection. Because when you ignore yourself long enough, when you silence your needs, dismiss your feelings, betray your own boundaries, you don't just lose direction. You lose connection. And from that place, anxiety begins to grow. Because you no longer feel grounded in yourself. Depression begins to creep in. Because you feel disconnected from meaning, from joy, from purpose, and emptiness settles in. Because you are living, but not feeling your life. But let's make this clear. This is not because you are weak. You are not weak for feeling overwhelmed. You are not weak for feeling lost. You are not weak for struggling internally, while still showing up externally. You are human. And more than that, you are someone who has been strong for too long. In the wrong ways. You've been strong in silence, strong in suppression, strong in self-neglect. But real strength is different. It's having the courage to pause and admit, I have been ignoring myself. It's having the honesty to say, I don't feel connected to who I am anymore. It's having the bravery to confront the truth. I have been living for everyone else. And I don't even know what I need anymore. Because awareness is where reconnection begins. You don't heal by pretending everything is fine. You don't find yourself by continuing to perform. You don't reconnect by staying disconnected. You heal when you start listening again to your thoughts, to your feelings, to the parts of you that have been crying out, but ignored for so long. And maybe, just maybe, what you've been calling anxiety, what you've been calling emptiness, what you've been calling feeling lost, is actually a signal, a message, a wake-up call from within, calling you back, not to who you were expected to be, but to who you truly are. Because you are not lost. You are just ready to reconnect. Some people look fine, but inside, they are completely exhausted. Not just physically tired, but mentally drained, emotionally worn out, spiritually empty, tired of pretending everything is okay when it's not, tired of forcing smiles they no longer feel, tired of waking up every day and putting on a version of themselves just to survive the day. They are tired, not because life is simply busy, but because they are fighting battles no one else can see. Tired of pretending to be strong when they feel like breaking, pretending to be happy when they feel numb, pretending to have it all together when everything inside them feels scattered. Tired of pleasing, always adjusting, always accommodating, always putting others first, even when it costs them their peace, even when it drains the little energy they have left. Tired of carrying silent battles, battles in their mind, battles in their heart, battles they don't even know how to explain. Overthinking everything, replaying conversations, questioning their worth, fighting emotions they don't understand. And the hardest part, they carry it all alone. They laugh in public, they show up, they engage, they joke, they play their role perfectly. But those laughs, sometimes, they are just noise, covering the silence within. Because when the crowd is gone, when the phone is quiet, when the distractions fade, that's when the truth shows up. They cry in private, in their rooms, in the bathroom, in the silence of the night, when no one is watching. Not always loud cries. Sometimes it's quiet tears. Sometimes it's just staring into space, feeling everything and nothing at the same time. They show strength. They keep going. They keep giving. They keep holding everything together. People admire them. Wow, you're so strong. You always handle things so well. I wish I could be like you. But what people don't see is that their strength often comes from having no choice. They feel broken, not visibly, not dramatically, but deeply, broken in ways they can't explain. Broken in ways that don't always have a clear reason. Just a quiet, constant feeling that something inside them is not okay. And the worst part, nobody sees it. Not because people don't care, but because they've become so good at hiding it. They've mastered the art of looking okay. They've mastered the art of deflecting questions. They've mastered the art of carrying pain with a smile. So, when someone asks, "How are you?" the answer comes automatically. I'm fine. Not because it's true, but because it's easier. Easier than explaining the chaos in their mind. Easier than trying to put pain into words. Easier than risking being misunderstood. I'm fine becomes a shield, a defense, a survival strategy. But behind those two simple words is a story no one hears. A story of exhaustion, of emotional weight, of silent cries for help that never leave their lips. And maybe this is you. Maybe you've become so strong on the outside that no one notices how much you're struggling inside. Maybe you've been fine for so long that you don't even know how to say, "I'm not okay." But here's the truth. You were never meant to carry everything alone. You were never meant to suffer in silence. You were never meant to disappear behind a mask of strength. And maybe, just maybe, the first step to healing is finding the courage to say, I'm not fine. But one day, something shifts. Not loudly, not dramatically. No announcement, no warning. Just a quiet, undeniable change. Deep within you, you wake up, and something no longer feels the same. The things you used to tolerate start to feel heavy. The places you used to fit into start to feel too small. The version of you that kept adjusting, shrinking, and surviving starts to feel unbearable. You get tired, but not the kind of tired that sleep can fix. A deeper kind of tired, a soul-level exhaustion. You get tired of abandoning yourself just to keep others comfortable. Tired of silencing your voice to avoid being misunderstood. Tired of pretending to be okay just to maintain an image. You get tired of shrinking your opinions, shrinking your needs, shrinking your presence, just to fit into spaces that were never designed for your growth. And slowly, you begin to realize you have been making yourself smaller in places that required you to be smaller. Instead of choosing spaces where you could be fully seen, you get tired of choosing everyone. Showing up, giving more, being there for people who would never do the same for you. And in the process, you've been losing yourself, piece by piece, moment by moment, until one day, you pause, and in that pause, you feel it, that quiet voice inside you, the one you ignored for so long, finally speaks, and it doesn't scream, it doesn't beg, it simply says, enough, enough pretending, enough shrinking, enough abandoning yourself. And in that moment, you make a decision, not a loud one, not one the world will notice, but one that will change everything. A quiet, powerful, life-altering decision. I want to find me again. Not for validation, not to impress anyone, not to prove anything, but because you finally realize you matter too. And this is where the real journey begins. Because finding yourself is not about becoming someone new. It's not about creating a perfect version of yourself that the world will finally accept. No, it's about returning to the parts of you that were silenced, returning to the voice you were told to ignore, returning to the identity you buried under expectations. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you who you had to be. And that journey, it's not easy. It requires unlearning guilt, unlearning fear, unlearning the belief that your worth is tied to how much you give to others. It means saying no, without guilt, without explaining, without feeling like you have to justify your right to protect your peace. It means setting boundaries, not walls to shut people out, but lines that say, this is where I end, and this is where you begin. It means choosing peace over approval, because you finally understand that being liked by everyone is not worth losing yourself. It means allowing yourself to heal. Not quickly, not perfectly, but slowly, honestly, deeply, healing in real ways. Not by pretending the pain doesn't exist, but by facing it, sitting with it, understanding it. It means sitting with your pain instead of running from it, feeling the emotions you once suppressed, acknowledging the wounds you once ignored, giving yourself permission to feel what you were never allowed to feel. Because healing doesn't happen when you avoid your pain. It happens when you face it with compassion. And along the way, you begin to forgive yourself for the times you stayed too long in places that drained you, for the times you accepted less than you deserved, for the times you betrayed your own needs just to keep others happy, for the times you didn't know better and did the best you could with the version of you that was still learning. You stop punishing yourself for your past and start understanding it, because you realize you were not weak, you were surviving. And now you are no longer just surviving. You are choosing yourself, choosing your peace, choosing your healing. And step by step, moment by moment, you begin to feel something again. Not pressure, not fear, but freedom, because finding yourself was never about becoming someone else. It was always about having the courage to come back home to yourself. Let me tell you something real, not something soft, not something surface level, but something honest, something that might shake you and set you free at the same time. You are not too broken to be whole again. I know it may feel like you've been through too much, like life has hit you in places that never fully healed, like parts of you are permanently damaged. But broken does not mean beyond repair. Sometimes what you call broken is actually a version of you that survived things it was never meant to endure. And survival leaves marks, scars, wounds, memories that don't fade easily. But those marks, they are not proof that you are finished. They are proof that you are still here. You are not too lost to be found, even if you don't recognize yourself right now. Even if you feel disconnected, confused, empty, that doesn't mean you are gone. It simply means you've wandered far away from yourself. And the beautiful thing about being lost is that it means there is still a way back. You are not too damaged to be healed. The pain you carry, the mistakes you've made, the things you regret, they do not disqualify you from healing. Healing is not reserved for perfect people. Healing is for the ones who are willing to face the truth. And that's where it begins. Because healing requires something many people avoid. Honesty, not the kind of honesty you show the world, but the kind you show yourself when nobody else is around. You must sit with yourself, without distractions, without excuses, and say the words that are hard to say. I lost myself, not in a way that blames you, not in a way that shames you, but in a way that acknowledges reality. because you cannot reclaim what you refuse to admit is gone. You cannot find yourself while pretending you were never lost. That sentence, "I lost myself," is not weakness. It is awareness. And awareness is the first step to transformation. Because the moment you admit it, you also unlock something powerful. The ability to reclaim yourself. Not who you used to be, but who you are meant to become. And here's where everything changes. You are allowed, yes, allowed, to outgrow people, even the ones you thought would always be in your life. Even the ones you once felt you couldn't live without. Growth will take you to places where certain people can no longer go with you. And that's not betrayal. That's evolution. You are allowed to change. You are not meant to stay the same, just to keep others comfortable. The version of me that thought endurance was the same as healing. I thank that version of me, because it kept me going. But I no longer need to live there. I embrace healing, not rushed, not forced, but real healing, the kind that requires honesty, the kind that asks me to feel, to face, to grow, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's slow. I embrace growth. I accept that I am evolving. I accept that I am learning. I accept that I will not always get it right. And that's okay, because growth is not about perfection. It's about progress. I embrace peace, not the kind of peace that depends on everything around me being perfect, but the kind of peace that lives within me, even when life is uncertain. A peace that comes from knowing I am no longer at war with myself. I am not lost, even if I feel confused, even if I feel uncertain. I am not gone. I am still here, still breathing, still growing, still becoming. I am becoming stronger, becoming wiser, becoming more aligned with who I truly am. Not overnight, not instantly, but step by step, moment by moment. I am evolving into the person I was always meant to be. Every day, in every way, I am finding me, in my choices, in my boundaries, in my healing, in the way I speak to myself, the way I show up for myself, the way I finally choose myself. I am finding me, not in perfection, not in approval, but in truth, in authenticity, in the quiet courage to be myself fully, unapologetically, and maybe, just maybe, finding yourself is not about searching everywhere, not in people, not in validation, not in constantly trying to become who the world tells you to be. Maybe it's not about running, or chasing, or proving. Maybe it's about pausing, slowing down long enough to hear your own voice again. Maybe it's about letting go of everything that is not truly you, so you can finally see what has been there all along. Because the truth, you were never completely lost. You were just buried under expectations, under pain, under survival. And now, layer by layer, choice by choice, you are uncovering yourself again. Not as who you were told to be, but as who you truly are. And maybe this journey, this painful, beautiful, honest journey, was never about becoming someone new. Maybe it was always about this one thing: coming home, not to a place, not to a person, but to yourself.